What up guys, Joachim here, and this is the second video. So we are going to primarily be going over John chapter 1 verse 2 in this video. The previous video we did verse 1 and I read verse 2, so today we'll do verse 2. Then we'll go back and review verse 1, and I'll just briefly read verse 3 before moving on. But I want to draw your attention to a couple things that are in the description box below. One, if you are going through this and you are learning Greek, like I mentioned before, I do recommend looking up the Greek alphabet and writing that down, at least a few times a day until you feel like you're pretty comfortable with it, so that you learn to recognize the sounds that accompany each letter. Greek is kind of nice because it has vowels. If you've ever studied Hebrew or other Semitic languages, they don't have vowels, so that does make it a little bit difficult. But with this, I also have a Quizlet page that I found. Someone else created. I didn't create it, but it has the vocabulary for the Gospel of John chapter 1, and you can kind of start working your way through that. I recommend learning using the Learn feature, and if you click on that, you can click on Learn, and then you will set it up in a certain way. I'll kind of show you I'll show you what my setup looks like. If you click on the three dots at the top of the page, once you've clicked on Learn, then you can go to that, and you really want the Greek word to be showing up. You want to be answering with an English word, because you want to be able to see in the Greek. You want to be thinking in the target language that you're learning. So that's why I personally prefer to do it that way. Quizlet was not set up exactly for languages, but I think it's a very good resource for this. And for us, since we're learning John chapter 1, we want to use something that's kind of specific to John chapter 1. There's other courses like Memrise and Anki that use spaced repetition systems that is very good, but with those, you're going to get the entire New Testament or something like that, whereas we just want our vocabulary right now to be specific to what we're learning. So there's that, and then I will also post a video of a guy that I found. He reads through the Greek New Testament, and I think he has like John chapters 1 through 6. So we're just going to be focusing on maybe the first 30 seconds of his video. But I will post a link to that in the description box below, so that you can click on that and hear somebody that actually reads Greek fairly well, and start getting used to the sounds. Also, in the Quizlet page that I mentioned, there is an audio that you can click on when each Greek word comes up, but it's like a computerized voice that sometimes he cuts off certain syllables. Sometimes I think when he said apostolos, or apostle, or something like that, it's like he starts with a P sound, so he cut off the A at the beginning. I'm not always 100% sure that that's accurate, so take that one with a grain of salt, but it actually does give you a computerized voice representation of the sound of the word that you're reading, so it can be very helpful in that way. And if you're going back and listening to my videos, and also listening to the guy reading the Gospel of John from the Greek New Testament, then that also will be all things that will help contribute to you attuning your ears to hearing what the Greek sounds are supposed to sound like, and also visually being able to look at the words and read them accurately. So that is most certainly the goal. So anyways, without further ado, we are going to begin looking at verse 2 first, John chapter 1. I will post the interlinear Bible that we are using from Bible Hub up on the page for you to see, and there's also a link for that in the description box below as well, that you should review if you are really wanting to learn this stuff. So verse 2 begins, Utos in archi proston theon. So pretty short verse, only a few words for vocabulary that we're adding in today. But utos, he. Utos, he. Utos means he. In, was. In, was. In means was. Enarchi, in beginning. Enarchi, in the beginning. Enarchi means in beginning, or in the beginning. Proston theon, with God. Proston theon, with God. Proston theon means with God or towards God. It can also mean towards God, with God. Proston theon. Utos in enarchi. He was in the beginning. Utos in enarchi. He was in the beginning. Utos in enarchi. He was in the beginning. Utos in archi proston theon. Utos in archi proston theon. He was in the beginning with God. Utos in archi proston theon. He was in the beginning with God. Utos in archi proston theon. He was in the beginning with God. So there's some repeating vocabulary. I'm going to go back now and reread verse 1, which we did yesterday. You should begin with verse 1 first and watch that video if you haven't already. But we will go back to review that. Enarchi in o logos. In the beginning was the Word. Enarchi in o logos. In the beginning was the Word. Enarchi in o logos. In the beginning was the Word. In means in. Archi, beginning. In was. O logos, the Word. Ke o logos in proston theon. And the Word was with God. Ke o logos in proston theon. And the Word was with God. Ke o logos in proston theon. And the Word was with God. Ke, and. O logos, the Word. In proston theon, was with God. Ke theos in o logos. And God was the Word. Ke theos in o logos. And God was the Word. Ke theos in o logos. And God was the Word. Ke, and. Theos, God. In o logos, was the Word. Enarchi in o logos. Ke o logos in proston theon. Ke theos in o logos. Utos in enarchi proston theon. All right, so hopefully you're starting to recognize some of those words and pick up on the meaning. We will continue moving on verse by verse each day. You should continue going back and reading these. If these videos are, say, 10 minutes long, 10 minutes is not going to be enough to actually learn the Greek New Testament in a desirable amount of time. So you will need to continue reviewing these things and going over the Quizlet page and reviewing the words, trying to internalize them with meaning. Eventually, you'll start to look at words like logos or enarchi and say in the beginning, or logos, word, and you'll think the English word in your head, and then eventually, through continued exposure to those words, you really won't think of the English word anymore. You'll think of those words as internalized words as part of your own vocabulary in Greek. So that's good. I'm going to move on. We're going to read verse 3, and that will be it for today. Please do the review, and that'll be it. So verse 3 is Pante di Utso egeneto, ke choris ato egeneto ude in ogegonon. So please don't take my pronunciation of all these words as the absolute way to do it. Go and listen to other people who are reading this passage, and follow along with it to get the pronunciation correctly, and then use this as a way to kind of pick up on the meaning of the words and try to internalize it. That's what I do. And so we're all just really doing it together. I am learning Greek. I am not a Greek expert. I am just learning this along with you all. So you guys take it easy, and I will talk to you tomorrow.